Okay, so the update was released about 5 days ago for Super Auto Pets, and it made a lot of changes to things that were good in the game, so the meta has been affected by a decent amount, and I thought I would go through and make a new updated tier list. So what is the best unit in the game? In my opinion, it is the Penguin. It is the one scaler that pretty much did not get nerfed, at least in the free pack. The Poodle also did not get nerfed, but Monkey and Dragon were two really good scalers. Both of those got nerfed, so they're no longer the best, I don't think. And Penguin alone just gives the best stats, assuming everything on your team is level 2. And there's a lot of things that you can do with Penguin. You can go like Dodo Rooster, you can go like Skunk, you can go Bison. There's a lot of different ways to kind of just get like scaling really efficiently with your team, so I have that as the best in the game. Turtle is still second best in the game. Melon Armor can be absolute huge difference. There are counters to it. It doesn't help too much against like summoning builds. It can die to splash attack. It can be popped by mosquito snipes, but it's still really important to get melon armor, I think. And then Otter is the best tier 1. The advantage of like high rolling otters at the start can be very significant. And then you can go Crab, which is another very good unit. I put it in A tier, and you are set for quite a while. Alright, and then the last S tier unit I have is Fly. So Fly got buffed because now it can work super well summoning builds because the triggers don't get wasted, but it's also still good as a melon popper, and if you happen to get like early level 2 Fly, its stats are just really good. So there's a lot of different purposes for Fly, and I think it's still one of the best units in the game. At the top of A tier, I have Turkey, so summoning builds are super good again, and you can even win like smaller lobbies, you can definitely win arenas with it. Most of this is going to be based off versus lobbies, since that's what I'm usually playing, but Turkey is just the vital part of summoning builds. You really can't have a great summoning build without a Turkey, and the earlier you find one, the better, because it also gives the buffs in the shop, and those permanent like +3/+3 or +6/+6 can be huge when you're dealing with like leopards and snakes. But because summoning builds are so good, it also moved up leopard way up in my tier list. I think I even had leopard in B tier before, because it was only really necessary in large versus lobbies that went a really long amount, like 20 rounds or so, I feel like. But now, it's just such a perfect counter to summoning builds. If you have a leopard, you will probably destroy them. I mean, it's very unlikely that they have like 1-ups on everything and like melon armor on everything perfectly until the late game, and by then you might already have like tiger leopard or something. So yeah, leopard just really good. Badger is, it's really good too. I'll try to come up with more descriptive words, but it's great late game because like level 2 will punch through a 50/50 with melon armor because it deals 100 damage, and you can still have a bee at the back. The only thing is like now Badger Bee kind of trades a lot because like 2 Badger Bees they always draw, which is a kind of frustrating change, but I guess I understand why they did it. I don't know if it was really necessary or not. And then Ox is still a great tier 3. These are the two tier 3s you're looking for, along with Turtle, I guess, on turns like 3, 4, 5. They're just so vital to the team, I feel like you pretty much just want to roll for them. Parrot is so perfect with so many things. It goes well with the summoning build with Parrot Turkey. You can go Parrot Ox, you can even go Parrot Deer. There's just so many uses for it that is a huge advantage, I feel like, and yeah, it's just a great tier 4 as well. Monkey, so the nerf to Monkey is pretty significant. It mainly, like, the things you want to buff were focused with attack, like Rooster, Leopard, that kind of thing. So it is a pretty significant nerf to the, it was a +3/+3, now it's a +2/+3. It's still a good scaler, but like it's not going to just win you lobbies anymore. I feel like you used to be able to just get a level 3 monkey and that was kind of enough to scale your entire team, but now I'm not so sure about that. But it's still going to be a good scaler for leopard. I already went over crab bison, so if you happen to have a level 3, I think you usually want to take a bison. The problem is, if you have like level 3 otter or something, you usually want to sell that. So the only level 3 that I really enjoy having late game is mosquito, but you can try to make it work with other level 3s like level 3 fish too. Dragon nerf is significant. Like before, the meta really did revolve a lot around dragon. I would say the majority of versus lobbies where people knew about dragon scaling, the dragon scaling won. It was really hard to beat. You can maybe beat it with penguin monkey, but most of the time dragon scaling was the way to go, and now it's no longer really a requirement to win. You can win with dragon still. I would really say it's hard to do unless if you get an early dragon like turns 9 and 10, but it's still doable. It's still a pretty good unit. It's just not like broken anymore, which is pretty nice. Because before, I think it deserved to be an S tier, at least in versus. Deer is a solid tier 4. It's just like good tempo, so that 5/5 splash attack is good early on, and then it's also a great summoning build. You can put a 1-up on a deer and it spawns so many things. You can go like tiger, whale, deer. Just a really good summoning unit, and probably the best actually, just to go with turkeys, besides fly maybe. But even just like a bunch of 1-up deer and like parrot turkey can be good. Mosquito is the best tier 1 to have late game, but its ability won't do anything unless if they have melon armor, of course. But if it's like a summoning build, you can go Mosquito Crocodile. So one thing that I moved way up on the tier list, well, I don't know if it was way up, but it used to be like B tier, bottom of B tier or something, and now it's an A tier, is Croc. So if you even go like Mosquito Croc, you can still snipe the back unit on a summoning build, and it's very satisfying, because it might like destroy their entire team if they just have a turkey. So that's a nice little thing that exists, but it is RNG, which can be kind of frustrating. Again, best tier 1 to have. You can keep it at level 3 and try to get a bison. That's a good strat. Cat, great scaler. Honestly, I might think that Cat would be a little bit higher. I don't know if Cat is better than Dragon now, but it's a possibility. The thing is that Swan got nerfed, and I feel like taking Swan early on is a little more risky. But it's still pretty good, and if you can get a Swan on your team and then go food build, it is great scaling, and I've seen people win with Cat, also seen people win with Seal, but, you know, you gotta get that Swan, I think, if you really want the best possible chance. Tiger is just good with Leopard, I think. That's pretty much all you need. You can maybe go with a Tiger and a summoning build, like Tiger, Whale, Deer I mentioned, or just Tiger, Turkey. It's a overall solid unit to have. Rooster is great just for summoning, I would say. You can scale it with other things, but most of the time I just go Rooster for summoning. Fish, it's a good thing to just have on the first few rounds. You get that like level up for some stats. Yeah, just pretty good. Like 2 level 2 fish into a level 3 fish. Also good scaling. Snake is a nice counter to summoning builds. It's not as good as Leopard because it can still fail, but like if you do get a decent snake build going and you have like a fly, you got maybe Tiger Snake, then you can completely ruin someone's summoning team with that. Seal is pretty good scaler. I don't know, I've seen a surprising amount of wins in versus lobbies with just Seal scaling, but it does require some RNG. Again, you kind of want that Swan, but it's great scaling. So if you do see a Seal, you can try it out, and it will work surprisingly well. Crocodile already went over. Cow is... it's a okay thing to take. Like most of the time on tier 5, I'm just looking for like monkey or turkey or chocolate. So like spending gold on cows is a pretty significant drop in chances of finding those, but it is good scaling. Alright, into B tier, Flamingo. I think Flamingo is just good to have in case you get an ox and you're pilling. It's just so many stats early on. I think it's definitely worth it. Giraffe is a sometimes take. If I have the room for it, I think it's usually pretty good to take on turn 5. But besides that, I mean, Giraffe, you don't have to have a Giraffe for sure. Spider is a nice thing to just pill, try to get early tier 3s. Dodo, if I see a Dodo on turn 3, I'll usually take it. It's a solid unit. It's definitely, like, not going to win you the game or anything, but it's a solid unit to have. Skunk is a lot less useful now that summoning is more prevalent, but, like, if someone's just going with monkey scaling, you know, Skunk can still be good. Swan, I don't find myself taking a lot of Swans nowadays, but... like, I've seen people do it, and it still works out pretty well for them. I mean, again, it's a little more risky. It's a 1-3. You could put bone attack on it, or you could just not do that and just hope you have a good enough team. But if you're behind, I don't recommend taking Swans. I would say only take it if you've got a pretty good team. Whale is a nice little thing with summoning. I think I'd Whale in, like, C or D tier, because, like, I never went summoning, and I didn't think it had any use. But Tiger, Whale, Deer, or even just Fly, Whale, Deer, very good. Dolphin... it's a decent sniping unit. I don't see Dolphin used too much, but it could be useful against like a summoning build as well. Ants, I don't take ants very much anymore, but if you do see maybe 3 ants early on, you can just take it, pill it, and it's decent stats. It's not the worst tier 1 for sure. Snail is pretty average now. Like, I would say you can maybe take snails on turns 5 and 6. I mean, you can also take them later, but I don't know if they're necessarily worth it. Like, I feel like the stats are just so minimal now that unless if you have, like, 3 snails frozen in the shop, I don't think you should really be freezing too many snails, unless if it's just, like, you know, you have no gold left. Scorpion is just it's an interesting take for, like, 1 turn. If you're doing, like, a 1v1 or something, it might save you, or just, yeah, just like a last-ditch 1-up Scorpion can work, maybe. Kangaroo, it's like okay against summoning builds early on, but you don't really want a kangaroo late game, and I still like my success rate with kangaroo is usually pretty low, so I just try to sell it early on. I don't really want to keep it. Sheep is a okay C tier. It's like if you find a sheep from an early level up on turns 3 and 4, you might as well take it. Like, what else do you want? But besides that, I don't think sheep's very good. Even with summoning builds, like a 1-up sheep, you're spawning very weak units. Assuming they have like decent scaling, is probably not going to do a ton. Gorilla, again, average C tier. Like, you can take it if they have mosquito or like splash attack, but unless if you invested a lot in cans or something, I feel like most of the time its stats are just not very high. Cricket, you can go like Otter Cricket if you're forced to. It's not the worst, but I don't think it's the best either. Rabbit, I just don't really take Rabbit anymore. I just don't think food build early on is really what you want when you could be looking for like Badger, Ox, Parrot, that kind of stuff, Penguin, Turtle. Yeah, there's just a lot of good things instead of Rabbit. Hedgehog, it's a fun meme build, and it occasionally can work, for sure, but like I would not recommend trying to actually win versus lobbies with Hedgehog Blowfish or something like that. Horse, I just don't take anymore. Even if you're going summoning, you just go for the turkey build. You don't care about horses. Blowfish, I mean, you can maybe take it for like mosquito or a hedgehog for a couple turns, but again, don't recommend that long term. Pig, I just don't really take anymore. Dog, also just don't take. I think the risk versus reward, if you get a level 2 dog early, sure, it's pretty nice scaling, but like if you don't get the level 2 dog, you usually lose pretty early, and I just don't think it's worth the risk. Beaver, again, not very useful. You might just take it for a turn to sell it and give it a little extra stats, but Elephant is a random buy occasionally if you have nothing else to buy. Peacock, the Peacock was slightly buffed, but it's still bad, and I just don't recommend taking it. And Mammoth, like, maybe if you get like a turn 9 Mammoth and you have a pill in the shop, it's worth taking, but I wouldn't really say it's worth taking otherwise. Hippo and Dirty Rat, you would think like, okay, so they changed the Dirty Rat, I mean, and it's a good change, I like it, but it's also still bad. It's not going to be good enough to actually compete with anything that scales, really. You're going to need an absolute, like, really lucky high roll of getting like level 2 Dirty Rat, level 2 like Kangaroo, level 2 Hippo, and then like a Penguin. So you're gonna need the absolute perfect things that you need in order to make this work, I feel like, and it's not very good, unfortunately, even though I like the change. And Hippo alone to try to counter summoning builds, the same thing with Rhino, it does not work. It's so sad. Its ability just does like absolutely nothing, assuming the other person has a decent summoning build with like Parrot Turkey. Shrimp, it used to go well with dog, but I never take dog, so I never really take shrimp. Worm, I just don't think is worth it at all, because I never take rabbit, and even if I get like a turn 5 worm, I still don't think it's worth investing in when there's so many things that are just better. Shark is a tier 5 that I just never take, since there's other good tier 5s. Camel, again, just a bad, like, herd effects just don't really work. And then Rhino, they actually kind of nerfed, because it used to do its ability before the buffs got summoned, or the summons got buffed, I should say, and now it doesn't do that, so it just never kills anything, and it's terrible. Duck is a 1-3, actually. Since it's a 1-3, I feel like I'm moving it up to the bottom of F tier, because you can go like Otter, Duck. Honestly, I take ducks more than I take any of these units, so I guess it should be in D tier, actually. Yeah, it's if you're forced to take Otter, Duck, it's not the worst thing, just that one extra stat, which also could help with the crab. And then Squirrel, worst unit in the game, I would say. It's so rare that you would actually want to take a Squirrel, and most of the time the shops give you terrible food because you don't get to roll for it, so it's pretty much just useless. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the tier list. Boar, probably also in D tier. It's just like, you don't want to take it. It's really bad. It doesn't counter summoning builds well at all. And yeah, that's my thoughts. They could change over the following weeks, as the meta continues to change, or it might just stay the same. I don't know. It's I would say this meta is a little more fun than the previous one because so many different things are viable. There's a lot of ways to win versus lobbies, and I think that's pretty cool. And it's not like there's anything that's completely broken. There's counterplay to summoning builds, and yeah, it's still pretty cool. So thanks for watching. See ya.